This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm answering your listener questions that were brought up in my last office hours session in August. Today's question is, do I need life insurance? Now, before I get into the particulars of the situation in this person's situation, the primary reason why someone would buy insurance would be to protect an income stream. So if something happened to you, if you became disabled, or you died and you were no longer able to work, the purpose of life insurance is to replace that income stream so that your family, if you're married, your spouse, and your kids are not going to have to, sell the house and upend their lives and be financially devastated if something happens to you. You also want to consider other factors. So, for example, in my situation, if myself or my husband died, not only would we need to replace an income stream, but there'd also need to be extra money there because the other spouse who maybe isn't working full time would maybe need to go back to work, things like that. So you want to consider those situations. And there are plenty of resources online for free. And I suggest if you're considering buying life insurance, that you do your homework, do your research before you talk to an insurance agent, because you want to know upfront approximately how much insurance you probably need. And that way, when you are talking to someone who's incentivized and receives a commission for selling you more insurance or more expensive policies, you want to be armed with the information so you don't buy more insurance than you actually need. So that's the purpose of insurance. And with that in mind, I would say most people who are close to retirement, especially if you have assets, if you need life insurance still, you probably don't need that much of it. So most people who have maybe kids out of the house, a decent sized nest egg built up, you could probably get, a shorter term policy for 10 years or something like that. And that way that would protect an income stream if you were still working and you died before you were retired. Again, it's a little bit different for everyone. Let me tackle this case in particular. So this listener question, it's a man in his 40s. He's married. Him and his wife have 5 kids. And the kids, the youngest is 10 and the oldest is 16. So right off the bat, what we want to do is ensure that if something happened to the husband or even the wife, because she's still working too, if something happened to either of them, what would it take to basically get those kids out of the household until they were independent on their own? And, that could be anywhere from 10 to 20 years down the road. But the complicating factors in this situation is that the husband has a pension and it's a pretty healthy pension. There's also some disability payments there. And so if something happened to him, that would continue to his spouse. So they have a pretty decent income stream that could support them. His wife works, but she'd probably likely need to stop working if something happened to him because, again, they have 5 kids in their household that they need to take care of and provide for. Or maybe she couldn't work full time, maybe had to work part time or something like that. So those are all considerations. However, the curveball here is that this couple already has a couple $1 million saved in various retirement accounts. And the kids have their college paid for. So they've been very diligent savers. They've done a good job saving for retirement. They've done a good job saving for their kids' college. And so I would say in his particular case, I probably wouldn't get insurance, but it's still worth doing a gap analysis. In other words, if something happened to you, if your income went away, but in this case, again, it's kind of a unique situation because there's already a pension coming in that would go and the kids' college already paid for. They have enough assets. If both of them died, that it would provide for those children. They probably more need to figure out a way to ensure that their kids are using the money wisely. That would be, in my opinion, a more important consideration here than, do I have enough money to provide for my kids? I'd want to see some type of trust or a trustee or some type of control over some of those assets so it wasn't given freely to the children when they were 18, because we want to give them the ability to use that money wisely and not blow through it in 6 months if mom and dad happen to die. So I would look seriously at that. Probably don't need life insurance in this case. But again, it's worth it to do a gap analysis and look at it a little bit closer. The other nuance here and the other piece of the question is long-term care insurance. So that's a whole other animal. And I'm going to actually talk about that a little bit more in one of the future episodes this week. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.